Hello and welcome to the Clap Experiment. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. The wrong jobs. Society appreciates the wrong jobs. I've noticed this ever since I graduated from high school. I had inklings of it before when I was already working and I was doing beginner stuff. That was the understanding, right? You go to work someplace, you start at the bottom of the ladder, you learn along the way, they trust you more, you show that you're reliable, and as time goes on, you work your way up the ladder. That doesn't exist anymore. But no, the jobs that are important in society. And yet, those people tend to be treated like total garbage. And I'm not talking about the McDonald's employee. Whole different rant here on that topic. I'm not saying that McDonald's employees are bad people. They provide food, if you can call it that, to the public when they demand it. I get it. It's not exactly an easy job. And yes, at times, in piss poor planning, it's necessary. But no, I'm talking about the jobs that are important. The ones that don't have the suits, that don't have the board meetings, the ones that our society depends on. The people that used to be called engineers, the blue collar workers that build stuff and maintain stuff. For some reason, society, and I noticed this particularly shifting around the 80s, when all of a sudden Wall Street was important. Not really. I can't remember the last thing Wall Street actually produced other than, an economic downturn. What? All the wealth and prosperity that you didn't create shit. I don't want to hear that garbage. You do nothing for anyone except for yourselves. But we consistently at least have 15%. No, you don't. And funny, it's so funny when you look at every time something happens, there's a certain group of people that just happen to know when to sell all their stuff before the market goes down. It's weird. It's almost like they have an inside voice telling them something is about to happen. Meanwhile, the rest of us have 401ks and 403bs and other retirement plans that are invested in the stock market that just take a huge dump because there's really nothing we can, because we work for a living, right? And then all those bad stocks get dumped on us as the sell-off happens, and we see our portfolios and we're like, what the just happened here? How did all of this end up being devalued? Like, in a matter of days. What is going on? The workplace. When it comes to the workplace, some of the most important jobs are the ones that get shit on the most. And the weird thing is, there are certain jobs that really nobody wants to do. Nobody has a desire to do them. And some people out there get really good at doing these jobs. And these jobs are really important. When I worked at the hospital, my job was sanitation. Imagine a hospital with poor sanitation. Now, one example. I spent 7 years working in the ER. You get into a car accident. You've got lacerations, broken bones, you're bleeding. You are susceptible to infection. You're brought in. The EMTs, they stabilize you, they rush you in, you're put into a trauma room. In the trauma room, they're trying to figure out what all the extent of your injuries are before they move you elsewhere, because nobody knows, do you need surgery? Do you have to have a bone reset? Any internal bleeding? They're going through all of this stuff to figure out what is happening with you. The one thing nobody wants to think about, because all this other stuff is important too, is whether or not your gurney's clean. The countertop was sterilized after the last God knows how many people were worked on in that room. Heaven forbid somebody picks up something and uses it on you that wasn't cleaned or switched out after the previous patient, and now you have God knows what, including the injuries that you came in with. My job, the one that I was consistently shit on for by assholes that worked there, was what guaranteed that didn't happen. One of the lowest paid positions in the hospital, and in reality, one of the most important ones if you're going to be walking out. Another section of the hospital was the mother-baby unit, which my wife was only in once, because when you have a micro-preemie, mom's not exactly staying overnight afterwards. The mother-baby unit, because of the rise in C-sections, usually keeps a patient for 2 to 3 days after they give birth. They don't really give birth anymore. It's kind of like tugged out of them. Yeah. But not taking any credit away from the mom. She did her 9 months of work, right? She got the baby that far. So, one thing that was not uncommon on that floor, keep in mind I did not work there. And I know some good people who did work there, but I know there are some people who weren't so good that also worked there. Mom usually is there for 2 to 3 days. Afterwards, then they are discharged and sent home. Some of the staff who had a comparable job to me on that unit said, well, we don't have to switch the sheets on day 1 because they just got there. Day 2, well, there's the possibility that they're going home today, because sometimes people went home on day 2. So we don't have to switch the sheets because we're going to be cleaning that room anyways. Then the person is there for day 3. Well, it wasn't switched on day 2. Mom is still laying with the same sheets on the same bed on day 3, and she's being sent home. The number of infections where the C-section was, let's just say it should be 0 if things go right. It was nowhere near 0. We were consistently having moms going home, and then later they're reporting that their incision where the C-section happened is infected. This happened all the time. And there was one case in particular, young mom, and I saw this for myself because she ended up being on the trauma unit that I worked just before I quit. Young mom gives birth. She's got her husband's at home with the baby, and mom got this infection, right? So the doctor puts her on an antibiotic, the same antibiotic I'm allergic to. Sulfa drugs are not anything I want to mess with. So mom calls and says, I've got this rash. I don't know what's going on. My skin is just, oh my God, what is happening? Calls the doctor's office, and the doctor, not the doctor, but the woman who answered the phone said, well, I wouldn't stop taking the antibiotic. You're not supposed to do that. So mom keeps taking the antibiotic. She ends up in the trauma care unit. Her body swelled up. Hair fell out. Her rash got so bad that her skin was peeling off, and they had to put bandages on her in order to counteract the rash and how much her skin was expanding from the swelling caused by the allergic reaction. And then this girl who was like in her mid-20s died. So why is it? Why is it that nurses and doctors deserve all the praise? Why is it the people who get shit wages to the point where they don't even really give a fuck about their job? They're constantly told their job is important, we can replace you. The good people who do that job, that make sure that people go home and don't get put on an antibiotic that they shouldn't be having and end up dying later, those people end up leaving because they're not appreciated, they don't get any fucking raises, their insurance is shit. And people are constantly kissing the asses of the people above them who make all the medical errors that constitute number 3 for the number 1 cause of death in the United States. Why do we do this? Plumbers, good luck if you're a plumber trying to get a date on Tinder, even though you're the first person that woman with a 6-figure salary who's been single since she was 30 and now she's pushing 40, nobody seems to want her. She'll call you to fix that thing that she doesn't know how to do. She won't go on a date with you. The electricians, oh, you don't have a college degree? You're not 6 foot? You don't make 6 figures? No, he just keeps your power on. That guy over at the water treatment plant that makes sure that you have water flowing out of your sink, he gets shit on too. Now, anybody can do that job. Really? Anybody? It's so funny. The jobs that women want equality in, that they want to do, involves an office, dressing up, and getting their latte, frappuccino, enema, cafe bullshit every afternoon on their hour and a half lunch break that they get paid for. That's equality. And I worked with plenty of women at the hospital that did the same job I do. And they get shit on just as much as I did. But they also got treated better by the management because most of the management were women. Well, they're a minority. What fucking world do you live in? You're the majority of the world population. You're the majority of management in this facility. You're in a position of power over men. Well, we're a minority. That word doesn't seem to have the same meaning you think it means. Why certain positions are valued over others, I don't understand. And I was hoping that in 2009 that all of this shit would have been fixed. Because when all these companies made cutbacks, including the one that I worked for, the first thing that they did, the first thing they got rid of was middle management. The higher up supervisors had to take on the workload that they should have been doing to begin with. The people below them watching over the employees, bye-bye. Meanwhile, they couldn't get rid of the actual labor force, the people who did the manual labor. It's almost like they acknowledged that those people were important. Meanwhile, they also froze their wages and nobody got a raise for the next year or two. But they got rid of the middle management. Kind of weird, right? They were almost there. They almost figured it out. They almost broke their own matrix of like, maybe the people in the office aren't as important as the employees. What? But no, they looked at that red pill. They looked at it, they stared at it intently. They fired some middle management people until they hired them back later, reopened those positions. I gotta get this fucking workload off my shoulders. Hired a bunch of new, incompetent, straight out of college assholes with a ton of college debt that were yes men. They did that, and everything went right back to where it was. Society keeps shitting on the wrong jobs. You want to know whether or not you're important? Consider this. This is the one question you need to ask yourself. If the zombie apocalypse happened tomorrow and there were 5 positions that were left in this bunker where you could be safe, and they were only taking the people who were useful, and it was you and 20 other people for those 5 positions, and 15 of them were some type of like middle management, accountant, supervisor, blah, blah, blah. I have a business degree. Who do you think the people in that bunker would consider important? And are you on that list? What do you contribute? What are your skills? What do you bring into the situation? Can you help rebuild civilization? Because I'm telling you right now, the people that are praised, the people that get all the rewards, the ones that for some reason everybody looks up to for no reason whatsoever, they're going bye-bye. Make sure you're not on the list.